Good evening, my friend. You've made it through another long day, and now the night is here, soft, quiet, waiting to wrap itself gently around your shoulders. There's nothing left to do, nowhere you need to be, just you and a little time to drift away. Tonight, I'd like to tell you a story, a quiet one, a real one, but told so slowly, so gently, that it will feel like a dream. It's about a ship, perhaps the most famous ship that ever was. But this isn't a story about ice or panic or music playing as the sea rises. No, this is a story about one soul, a quiet life, a memory kept safe across time. The story of how I, a simple boy, once stepped aboard the Titanic and somehow found my way home. If you enjoy journeys like this, you're welcome to leave a like or a gentle comment. Perhaps share where you're listening from and what time it is. Only if it feels right. No pressure, just peace. Now, go ahead and settle in. Maybe adjust your blanket. Let your arms grow heavy and your breath fall slower. Close your eyes if you haven't yet, and let me take you back to 1912. You wake to a soft creaking, a gentle sway, side to side, almost like the arms of a mother, rocking you quietly. It's not a room you know, not your sheets, not the ceiling above. There is no soft hum of a refrigerator, no glow from a phone left charging on the nightstand, no thermostat ticking in the corner, just wood, iron, the deep hush of water pressing against the hull. You're on a ship, and not just any ship. The year is 1912, and this is the RMS Titanic. You blink slowly, the dim morning light filtering through a small porthole. The air is chilly. Your breath clouds faintly in the stillness. You pull the wool blanket tighter. It's scratchy, not soft like fleece, but it holds the warmth close in its own stubborn way. Your boots are by the door, thick leather, scuffed, the kind that takes effort to lace, not something you slip on in seconds. There is a little tin basin of water near the wall, cold as ice from the night air. You dip your hands in it and wash your face. No faucets, no mirror with lights, just a small shard of glass and a towel made of rough cotton. You hear voices in the hallway, English, Irish, something else, the echo of other souls waking to the same creaking rhythm. There's no internet, no headlines, no notifications, just breakfast smells, a bit of fried something carried faintly through iron vents, and the ship, always the ship, humming somewhere deep below, moving you forward like a giant in a dream. You don't remember being afraid, only curious and a little excited, because this ship is a miracle, a floating city, a palace at sea. They say it cannot sink, and for now the morning is calm. You breathe it in, the salt, the coal smoke, the polish of varnished railings and new leather gloves. This is where your journey begins, and slowly the dream unfolds. You wake slowly, still wrapped in that scratchy wool blanket, still surrounded by the soft creaking of beams overhead, still afloat on the largest ship the world had ever seen. But something feels off. Not wrong, not yet, just off. The silence is a little too deep, the air a little too still, but it's only your second day at sea, and you're not a man of worry, so you dress layer by layer. Heavy trousers, rough cotton shirt, wool socks, thick boots, laces tied with a double knot. There are no zippers, no mirrors with warm light, only a tin basin and water gone cold overnight. You splash your face, look yourself in the eye. In a cracked shard of mirror, someone wedged into the wall, and for a moment you don't quite recognize the man looking back. Not fear, just that feeling, like something is watching just past the edge of your vision. You shake it off. The hallway is lively now. You hear footsteps above, laughter below, a little girl giggling in a language you don't speak, a young man humming to himself as he carries a crate of oranges. The ship is alive, and when you reach the deck, the sun greets you with gold and wind. The Atlantic stretches forever, cold, gray blue, dotted with foam like lace on a dress. You lean on the railing, feel the steel beneath your palms. It hums softly, the voice of a giant moving through time. They say this ship is unsinkable, and you believe them, mostly, but still you glance west, toward the cold, and something in your bones, some old inherited instinct, wonders just how deep the sea really is. You breathe in. The air smells of salt, varnish, smoke. Somewhere deep below, the coal burns on, and above you, the sky is painfully, beautifully clear. You spend the morning walking, not because you must, but because something inside you wants to see it all. Titanic isn't just large, she's bewildering, an ocean-going city floating with silent pride through the cold Atlantic air. Every hallway gleams, every handrail shines, and even in the third-class corridors, someone has taken care. Every morning, every corner, every surface touched by effort. Your boots thump softly along the wooden floor as you make your way forward. Around you, life stirs. A young couple sits by a window, her head resting against his shoulder. The glass is fogged from their breath. You catch a glimpse of the ocean behind them, and it seems to go on forever. There are no intercoms here, no neon signs pointing the way. just simple painted arrows, and your own sense of direction. You pass through the dining saloon. Breakfast is ending. Tin plates scrape quietly. Mugs of tea are passed hand to hand. The scent of stewed oats lingers in the air. You smile to a woman with 2 children, both boys, both with bright eyes and freckled faces. One of them drops a spoon and giggles. You move on, up a flight of metal stairs, fingers grazing the iron rail. You feel the hum now, deep and distant, like the breath of something sleeping far below. The engines, the power that moves this impossible structure forward. Emerging onto the outer deck, you're met with a shock of wind, cold and clean. The sky is overcast, a smooth stretch of pale gray. The sea is darker, rougher than yesterday. Not dangerous, just heavier. The kind of sea that watches you. Around you, passengers drift like ghosts, wrapped in long coats, talking softly, some alone. No music, no distractions, only the sounds of water and wood, leather soles and the occasional cry of a gull overhead. You find a bench near the rail and sit. The bench is painted white, but the paint is chipping, flaked away by salt and time. You place your hands on your knees and breathe out slowly. You're not afraid, not really, but there's something about this ship. The way it moves, the way it doesn't. It's steady, yes, but too steady, as if pretending to be calm. You watch the lifeboats, lashed tight in their frames above. No one looks at them, no one speaks of them, as if they don't exist. A steward walks by, no older than you, maybe younger. He nods politely. You almost ask him something about the life jackets, about the drills, but you don't, because why would you? Everyone says it's safe. Everyone says it's perfect. And still, a part of you listens to the quiet under the quiet. You look out again into the vast gray of sea and sky, and you wonder, what lives below? What waits beneath all this beauty, and why? Can't you shake the feeling that it already knows your name? Evening comes quietly. There's no announcement, no digital clock ticking forward, just the slow dimming of light through the portholes, and the soft shift in the ship's breath. You feel it first in the corridors, the way voices lower, footsteps soften, doors click shut with extra care. Supper is over. The scent of broth and boiled cabbage still lingers faintly. Somewhere nearby, someone hums, a lullaby, maybe, the notes warm and low. You make your way back to the outer deck. The sky has changed. Clouds part just enough for the moon to shine through, pale, half-lit, and watching. The ocean reflects it like dark glass, smooth, still, but not empty. You lean against the railing, coat pulled tight. The cold bites a little deeper now, not cruel, just constant, like something reminding you this is not your world. You watch a man lighting a pipe with a match cupped in his hands. He struggles against the wind, finally succeeds, then exhales slowly. The smoke curls upward and disappears. He doesn't speak to you, but he nods once. You nod back. It's a quiet language, the kind men use when they don't want to disturb something older than themselves. Behind you, laughter bursts from a group of young passengers, Irish maybe. Cards slap on a table. Someone curses playfully. Coins jingle. It's warm there. Human. But you stay by the railing because something about the sea tonight won't let you turn away. There's no shoreline in sight, no lanterns beyond, just black and black and black, and the moon above, watching like it remembers everything. You think of your bed, thin mattress, one woolen blanket, the creak of the bunk above when the man turns in his sleep. It's not comfort as you know it. No memory foam, no bedside lamp, just darkness and the slow heartbeat of water all around. Still, it's enough. You stay a little longer on the deck. The night deepens. From below, you hear a soft clanging, metal on metal, distant but real. Someone in the engine room, maybe. Someone keeping everything moving while the rest of you sleep. And for a moment, you envy them because at least they know how the machine works. You don't. To you, this ship is still a wonder, a mystery, a miracle, they called it, unsinkable. But as the wind brushes your face and the sea lies heavy beneath you, you think, every miracle is borrowed, and every machine has limits. You look up. The stars are coming out now, small, cold, silent. You wonder if they've ever seen what's coming. You don't know it yet, but in 2 nights, everything will change. Some people you remember forever, not because they were important, not because they said something grand, but because they were there, beside you, when the days still felt calm. You first saw her by the stairwell, an older woman in a lavender shawl, seated on a small bench, knitting without looking at her hands. Her face was wrinkled but strong, the kind of strength that doesn't need to be spoken. You passed her once, then again. The 3rd time she looked up. "You're walking in circles," she said, and smiled. You laughed, sat down, said nothing at first. Sometimes silence is its own kind of introduction. She told you she was going to Montreal. Her daughter had married there. First grandchild on the way. She hadn't seen snow in 20 years. "I miss it," she said, eyes soft, "even the awful kind." Later that day, you met Joseph, a wiry man with oil on his collar and a burn scar on his wrist. He worked down near the engines, slept little, ate fast. He had a way of talking like he'd seen everything and didn't trust any of it. He told you stories that didn't make sense about other ships, about rivets that didn't hold, about metal that snapped when it shouldn't have. You didn't know if you believed him, but still you listened, because beneath his roughness there was something scared, and you've learned to trust fear when it hides behind bravado. That night you shared a bench with the same little boy you'd seen on deck earlier, the one with the too long scarf and the soft steps. He didn't speak much English, but he had a marble in his pocket, green and glassy, and he rolled it into your hand with a grin. You gave it back. He rolled it again, and somehow you played like that for nearly an hour. When his mother came to collect him, she apologized in French. You only smiled, because in that moment you had remembered something soft inside yourself, something from long ago, before the ship, before the sea, before worry. And then there was the young couple in the dining hall, she with a braid like rope down her back, he with hands that trembled ever so slightly when he lifted his tea. They looked so in love and so unsure, like they were still pretending to be grown. You never asked their names, but when you think of this voyage, you see them first. The quiet smile she gave him when no one was looking. The way he took her elbow when the floor swayed too much. People fade, but gestures remain. Small kindnesses, quiet fears, moments that don't look like history until they are. And even now, so many years later, you remember. Not the menu, not the number of decks, not the polished brass or the headlines. You remember a marble, a smile, a woman who missed the snow, and all of them, like you, floating quietly toward something none of you could see. The night before was beautiful, painfully, impossibly beautiful. You remember thinking that. The kind of sky you'd only seen in paintings, so full of stars that it looked like the heavens were trying to pour themselves into the sea. There was no moon, but the starlight was enough. The deck glowed faintly under it, silvery and soft. You could see your breath in the air, little clouds disappearing into the dark. The wind was calm. The ship hardly moved. It felt wrong, too still, as if the ocean had stopped breathing. You leaned on the railing and looked out, not because there was anything to see, just blackness, but because something in you needed to look anyway, to check, to listen. The water whispered below, folding over itself in tiny waves. No crashes, no whitecaps, just a slow, endless hush. You weren't the only one outside. A few others wandered the deck, couples arm in arm, a man with a cigar, a steward polishing something that didn't need polishing. Everyone moving a little slower, a little softer. No laughter now, no shouts from the card games, only low voices and the creak of the great ship. You sat on a bench for a while, the same one maybe from your first morning. The paint was chipped, the wood cold through your coat, but it felt familiar, and familiarity is comfort, even when you don't understand why you need it. You watched your breath rise into the night and wondered if the stars could see you, if anyone could, because somewhere, deep down, you felt like the world had turned its face away. The ship's engines hummed far below, steady as ever, but that too felt different, like a drumbeat in a dream, too slow, too perfect. A man passed by. He nodded. You nodded back. And in that moment, you almost said something, almost asked, "Do you feel it too?" But you didn't, because to speak the feeling out loud would make it real. And the night was too beautiful for that, too full of starlight, too quiet, too sacred, the kind of quiet that comes before snow, before thunder, before something changes. You stayed on the deck until your fingers went numb. Then you rose and walked back below, not quickly, not slowly, just enough. The corridors were empty now, the lamps dimmed, the air smelled of old wood, coal, and sleep. You reached your bunk, folded your coat, lay down. The mattress creaked under you. The man in the bunk above snored faintly. You pulled the blanket to your chin and listened to the ship, to the sea, to the silence beneath the silence. And as your eyes closed, you told yourself, everything is fine, everything is fine, everything is fine, everything is, but the feeling won't leave you, even as sleep edges closer, even as the warmth of the blanket begins to press around your shoulders like arms from long ago. A part of you stays awake, not fully, just a thread of thought, a tension behind the eyes, a silence that feels too hollow. You think about the stars again, how clear they looked. You wonder how far away they really are. Thousands of years, maybe. Their light reaching you now as your ship floats forward into the dark. You wonder if anyone else is still awake, if the boy with the scarf is dreaming, if the woman with the knitting needles is resting her hands, if Joseph is down below, listening to the bolts and plates and heat as only he can. You wonder if the ship knows, if its bones remember how deep the ocean is. The engines shift slightly, a change in rhythm so small you almost miss it. Almost, but your eyes open, and that's when you realize the silence has changed, still quiet, but no longer peaceful, as if the night is holding its breath. You stay still, listening, then you close your eyes again, because what else can you do? The warmth calls you, and for now, sleep still comes, though it feels a little colder than it should. It begins with a sound, not a crash, not a scream, not the kind of noise stories are built from. No, it's quieter than that. A thud, low, distant, as though the ship itself has exhaled and something caught in its chest. You're half asleep when it happens, eyes closed, body warm beneath the blanket, the room wrapped in dark, and then that sound, like someone knocking from beneath the floor. Once, then silence. Your eyes open. The bunk is quiet. The man above still snores. You lie there a moment, listening. The ship feels the same, still gliding, still humming. But something is wrong. You don't know why. You only know you're suddenly cold, not from the air, but from inside. You sit up. The walls seem closer now, the ceiling lower, the air sharp, still. You hear footsteps in the corridor, soft, quick. Someone whispers, then hush. You swing your legs over the side and place your boots on the floor. They're colder than they were. The floor itself feels alive, like it's remembering something it doesn't want to. You step out into the hallway. No alarms, no lights flashing, just faces, half awake, barefoot, some holding coats, some holding nothing. At the far end, a steward walks by, saying something about a precaution, something about checking. His voice is too calm, and that is what worries you most. You climb one level up. The stairwell is crowded now, but quietly so. No panic, only whispers. People still unsure whether this is anything at all. It doesn't feel like a disaster. Not yet. Just a disturbance. You reach the deck. The cold hits you like a wave. Not the chill of a breeze, not something on the surface, but a deep, ancient cold. The kind that creeps into your bones and waits. The stars are still there, still perfect, still beautiful, still watching, but they feel different now, like eyes, not lights. You walk to the rail. Others are gathering. Some look confused. Some are laughing softly, trying to dismiss it. And then you hear it, not from above, from below. Water, not crashing, creeping, moving where it shouldn't be. A vibration rises through the deck just for a moment, and then stops. Then footsteps. Running now, only one set. Then a voice, not shouting, but loud enough. All passengers to the main stairwell, please, just for a moment. People begin to move. You stay still, because suddenly you understand something no one is saying. Something is broken, and it cannot be fixed. You begin walking, not fast, but not slowly either. The crowd around you grows, no longer sleepy, no longer whispering. Now there are questions. What was that? Did you feel it too? Should we bring the children? A woman is crying softly, not panicking, just weeping like someone who doesn't understand why her hands are shaking. And then, a sound you'll never forget. Rivets tearing, not metal exploding, no, just a sound like something old coming apart at the seams. Deep, hollow, final. Someone says iceberg, but it barely lands because no one believes it. Not really, not on this ship. The men begin to move faster. Coats appear, belts tightened. Orders, calm but firm, echo down the corridors. Put on your life belts, please. Stay together. This is just a precaution, again and again, but now eyes meet in silence, and every glance says the same thing. This is real. You return to your room and find your belt, coarse, awkward, unfamiliar. The man in the bunk above is already gone. You sling it over your shoulders, then you stop, just for a moment. You stand still in that tiny room, wood walls, metal basin, blanket half folded, and suddenly, you know, this moment, this very moment, will stay with you forever, because this is the last time you'll ever feel like the floor won't move beneath you. The last time the ship still believes it's whole. You step out, and the corridor is waiting. There comes a moment when you stop pretending, not loudly, not with panic, just quietly. You see it in the way people tie their shoes, in the way they hold their children a little tighter, in the way no one says it out loud, but everyone knows. You make your way to the upper deck. The air is sharper now. The cold bites with teeth. Above, the stars are still fixed in place, cruel in their indifference. And below, the ship leans ever so slightly, just enough to feel it in your knees, just enough to break the illusion. You see Joseph, the man from the engine room. His face is pale with coal dust and something else, something you don't have words for. He meets your eyes. No way to stop it, he says, voice hollow. It's already in. You don't ask what. You just nod. Around you, stewards move briskly, life belts in hand, guiding people into lines. Some still resist, asking questions with trembling voices, but most obey, because deep down something ancient has stirred. The body knows. You hear a woman calling a name over and over, a child's name. A man offers his gloves to his wife, tucking them around her fingers with shaking hands. He kisses her forehead and says nothing else. You're handed a woolen hat by someone, you don't know who. You thank them anyway. The lifeboats are being uncovered now. Ropes creak, wood groans. No one jokes anymore. You spot the woman in the lavender shawl. She's sitting on a crate, eyes closed, lips moving silently. You don't interrupt her. You simply sit beside her. There's no more music, no more firelight behind glass, just the cold, the stars, the sound of ropes and rivets and feet shuffling in lines. They call women and children first, and no one argues. You see the boy with the long scarf. He's crying, holding his mother's hand. She kneels to fix his coat, but her hands tremble too much. You want to help. You don't move, because something in you knows this moment is not yours to interrupt. You just watch and remember. You notice that people are quiet now, not because they aren't afraid, but because they are. And fear, the real kind, doesn't scream. It settles into the bones. You take one last look at the sea. It's closer now. The ship has sunk deeper in the front. Water is on the deck, glistening like glass, still beautiful, still cold. And then you hear your name. Someone calls it from behind. You turn. It's her, the woman who missed the snow. Her shawl is damp with sea spray. Her face is calm. They said there's space in the next one, she says. Go. You open your mouth to argue, to say she should go instead. But she smiles, not as someone scared, as someone who's already let go. You don't argue, you don't cry, you only nod and walk. Each step feels heavy, not like fear, but like the weight of something final. The boat is half full when you arrive. Hands reach out, steady you, guide you in. You sit near the edge, where the chill of the air feels sharper. Someone gives you a blanket, not warm, just dry. The ropes groan as the boat begins to lower. Slowly, slowly, you look up, faces along the rail above. Some wave, most don't. They just watch. And behind them, the stars. Your hands grip the sides of the boat, not from fear of falling, but to stay grounded, because the moment the boat touches water, the sound changes. No longer boots on deck, no more echo through steel, only water, cold, black, breathing. You look back at the ship. She is still beautiful. Lights glowing softly, windows lit like memories, smokestacks rising proud. She does not look like she's dying, and somehow that's the worst part. Because the sea doesn't take with fury, it takes with silence. And as your lifeboat drifts away, your breath catching in the air, your eyes find the woman with the shawl. Just once more, she doesn't wave. She doesn't need to. She only closes her eyes and sits still among the stars. The sea holds you now, not the ship, not the steel beneath your boots, just a wooden boat and the dark water below. You don't remember how long it took to lower. Minutes? Hours? Time has stopped meaning anything. There are 11 others in the boat. maybe more, maybe fewer. You don't know their names, you don't ask. Everyone stares forward, or down, or nowhere at all. The only sound is water, oars dipping slowly, wooden handles creaking, a breath now and then, a muffled sob. You sit with your arms wrapped around yourself, blanket pressed to your chest. It doesn't help much. The cold here is different. It doesn't sting, it seeps. It reaches into you like a memory that won't let go. You look back. The Titanic still shines. She hasn't gone dark yet. From this distance, she looks untouched, beautiful, majestic, floating like a city of light across the black. But she is listing just enough to notice, to feel it in your stomach. You hear someone whisper, "She's going under." No one answers. A voice calls from another boat nearby. A man calling names, repeating them, hoping someone will answer. No one does. Another voice begins to pray, softly, in a language you don't know. No one stops them. The stars remain above, fixed and cruel. You wonder again how they can shine so calmly. You wonder if they watched this before, if they will again. Someone in your boat speaks, an older man. "She didn't have enough," he says. "Boats should have been more." Someone else murmurs, "We didn't think we'd need them." Silence, the kind that hurts more than words. The ship begins to tilt further. Lights flicker now, just once. You feel the boat shift beneath you as someone moves too suddenly. A steward hisses, "Keep still." The woman next to you is holding a child. You didn't notice them until now. She doesn't cry. She doesn't rock him. She just stares. And then a sound from the ship, low, deep, long, a groan, a tearing, a scream that doesn't come from any throat, but from the bones of the ship itself. No one in the boat moves. You all watch, not because you want to, but because you can't look away. A few more minutes pass, or maybe it's only seconds. Then the lights go out, not all at once, but in waves, deck by deck, window by window, like someone gently closing their eyes. And then darkness. She's gone. Not under, not yet, but gone. No longer a ship, just a shape in the night, a shadow waiting to fall. You grip the sides of the boat again, because now the silence is louder than any scream could be, and the sea has never felt so big. Somewhere a flare rises, red against the stars. It doesn't help. It doesn't light the way. It only reminds you how dark everything else is. You feel the boat shift again. Someone leans forward, peering into the night. "Listen," someone says. And you do. At first, you hear nothing. Then, voices, far away, calling out, not screaming, just calling. Names, prayers, words you can't understand. You can't tell how close they are. The water plays tricks, carries sound in strange ways. One cry might be 5 feet away, or 50. The steward stands, shouting for calm, tells everyone to stay seated, to conserve energy, to row steady, but no one rows, no one speaks. Everyone is listening now, because somewhere out there, in that blackness, people are still in the water, still alive, and the ship, she's leaning more, her spine groaning, her lights gone. You can't stop shaking, not from cold, not entirely, from knowing that what's coming next no one can prepare for. You close your eyes just for a moment, and in that moment you hear something new. Stillness, not quiet. Stillness, the kind that comes just before something breaks, and when you open your eyes, the ship is no longer upright. She is rising, stern lifting like a finger toward the sky, and you can only watch. There is no noise, not anymore. No creaking of lifeboat ropes, no groaning of steel, no voices giving orders, only the wind, the stars, and the sea. You drift through it quietly, oars resting still, faces turned downward. The Titanic is gone. You didn't see her slip beneath, not fully. You saw the bow vanish, the stern rise like a monument silhouetted against the stars. And then she was gone, not torn, not shattered, just gone, swallowed. You stare at the place where she was. The water is calm there now, too calm. No bubbles, no froth, just a soft ripple like someone exhaling in sleep. Around you, the others begin to speak. Some call out, some whisper names, a few pray, but most stay silent. You dip your hand into the water just once. It's colder than anything you've ever felt, colder than snow, colder than steel, colder than fear. And in that cold, there are voices. At first they sound far away, then closer. Cries. Not loud, not sharp, just human. Somewhere out there, they are still in the water, floating, holding on to chairs, doors, memory. The steward shouts for silence. He begins calling to the other boats. We must regroup. But no one rows, not yet. You watch the sea, and that's when you see them. Shapes, drifting, not icebergs, not debris. People, some floating, barely moving, some trying to wave, others still. Your oar touches something in the dark. You pull it back quickly. No one speaks. The boat rocks gently. Someone coughs. The child begins to cry. It's a small sound, but it breaks something inside you. You look toward the other boats. Some begin to move. rowing in slow circles. Some stay where they are, and above it all, always, the stars, watching, silent. You breathe in slowly. You try to find your place in your body because part of you still doesn't believe this happened. You reach for the edge of the boat, hold it tight, and then someone whispers, "Look." You follow their gaze. In the distance, chunks of ice, white, sharp, reflecting starlight. They weren't visible before. Now they are everywhere. You drift through them, slowly, carefully. The ice bumps against the hull with a sound like porcelain. You think of teacups, of the dining hall, of the woman with the snow in her memory. You close your eyes, and suddenly you feel very small, like a dot, a breath. You open them again, and you row, because there's nothing else left to do. The hours pass. You don't know how many. There's no way to measure time now. No bells, no clocks, no rising sun. Only cold and darkness and the steady ache of still being here. Your fingers have gone numb. You can't feel your feet. You stop trying. Your thoughts drift, then return. Drift again. The boat rocks gently, and sometimes you forget you're not dreaming. You see lights that aren't there. Hear music that stopped hours ago. Your mind goes back to the staircase, the smell of bread, the boy with the marble, all of it, already fading. The boat bumps against another piece of ice. Someone startles. Someone whispers a prayer. And still, the stars, unblinking, unmoving, unchanged. You look down at your hands. They seem to belong to someone else now. And you wonder, who are you? After something like this, you are not a passenger, not a survivor, not yet. You are just floating between what was and whatever comes next. The night stretches on, longer than any night you've known. You lose track of time, of space, of yourself. You're no longer sure what matters. You're just here. Your body is hunched in the boat, wrapped in a blanket stiff with cold. You're no longer shaking. That stopped hours ago. Now it's something deeper, quieter, a stillness you don't like. Around you, no one speaks. Not because there's nothing to say, but because words would break something that's keeping everyone upright. You hear breath. You hear oars shifting slightly. You hear the creak of wood against wood. Boat touching boat, gently in the dark. Now and then a child whimpers. Now and then a name is called, too softly to carry far. You think of home, of warm things, familiar things, a kitchen, bread rising, the feel of a coat that fits just right. You try to remember a time you weren't cold. You can't. The stars remain, scattered and endless above you. They're fading now, just slightly, not vanishing, but softening. The black sky is turning the faintest shade of blue. The first hint. Dawn. A steward notices it first. He doesn't speak, just sits taller and watches. You do the same, and slowly the others begin to lift their heads. No fanfare, no cries, just eyes blinking, looking toward that pale strip of light on the horizon. It isn't warmth, not yet, but it's something. Proof. You survived the night. You lived long enough to see the sun try to return. It rises slowly, nothing dramatic, no golden flood, just a quiet peeling back of shadow. And in its light, the scene becomes real. You see the other boats now, dozens, some drifting far, some near. You see faces, pale, silent. You see hands, so many hands, wrapped around children, holding coats closed, reaching across to steady others. You look down at the water and see it clearly for the first time. The wreckage, planks, chairs, clothing, shoes, a doll, a single glove floating palm up, and then someone whispers, "A ship." You follow their gaze. There, on the edge of the horizon, a shape, gray, small, but growing, and for the first time in hours, something stirs inside your chest. Not warmth, not yet, but something close. You want to stand, to shout, to wave, but your body won't listen, so you just sit there, clutching the edge of the boat and watching that shape on the horizon grow. Other voices begin to rise, some crying, some laughing, some too quiet to tell. The child in your boat stirs, finally speaking a word. It sounds like Papa, or maybe it's just a breath. The mother gathers him tighter. The steward raises his arm, begins waving slowly, methodically. You try to do the same. Your muscles argue, but you do it anyway, because that ship is moving, because the light is spreading, because for the first time since you left the rail of Titanic, you believe there might be a next. The kind of life that comes after the story no one wanted. Not the same life, never the same, but a life still. And somehow that is enough. They lift you from the boat gently, hands grip your arms, voices murmur above you. You don't remember standing, just the feeling of being pulled up, out, into light. The deck beneath your feet is unfamiliar, not Titanic, not home, but solid and warm. Someone wraps a blanket around your shoulders, thicker than the one before, softer. It smells of wool and salt and something like tobacco. You're led inside, not quickly, not urgently, just forward. The corridor is narrow, but the lamps are lit. The floor doesn't move under you. Not really. Your body still sways, even when it doesn't have to. A voice asks your name. You answer, though it sounds strange in your own mouth. They write it down. You sit. They bring tea. It burns your hands, not from pain, but from contrast. The heat feels almost unreal. You drink slowly. The first sip doesn't taste like anything. The second tastes like life. Across from you, others sit. Some cry, some stare, some talk quietly about nothing. You listen, not to the words, to the silence beneath them, because something is different now. You made it, but that doesn't feel like victory. It feels like waking from a dream you can't remember, and somehow still mourning it. You close your eyes, just for a moment. You see the ship again, the deck, the stars, the water. You see the woman with the lavender shawl, the boy with the marble, Joseph, the young couple. Their faces are clear, brighter than the room you're in now. You open your eyes. You're here, alive. But a part of you still floats in the cold, still leans against the rail, still watches the lights go out, and maybe it always will. Later, they bring you dry clothes. You change slowly, movement stiff, careful. Each button you fasten feels like closing something. They offer you a bed, a real one, clean sheets, a pillow, a wool quilt. You lie down, not because you're tired, but because there is nowhere else to be. You pull the blanket over your chest, and it's warm, not enough to undo the night, but enough to remind you that you are still here, that the air still moves in and out of your lungs, that your body is heavy against something that will not sink. You close your eyes again, not to escape, but to rest, because now there is nothing more to do, nothing to fix, no one left to become, only you, only breath, only silence, and sleep, sleep at last.